Hi, I'm Shannon. I'm the leader.
I'm McKenna. I was the marathon runner.
And Maddie. I was the photographer.
I'm John. I was the observer.
I'm Mac. I'm the physician.
I'm Drake. I was the environmentalist.
So what went well with our simulation was that no one died or was rescued, so we made sure that the doctor was at the camp with everyone else and gave them the appropriate medical supplies to keep them out of critical condition and keep from being rescued. And we also stayed together as a group, so we didn't have some people moving on to the next camp. We had everyone stay together so that, like, if we summited, we would summit as a group and not just like individual people.
And lastly, we also made decisions as a team based upon everyone's goals. So, for example, we stayed at Camp 1 an extra night in order to accomplish my goals as a team physician, as well as recuperate Drake's health, which was very critical at the time, and accomplish Maddie's goals. So what we did was we tried our best to accomplish individual objectives while also keeping our team objectives in mind.
What was difficult was everyone's health was critical at one point. Like Max said towards the beginning, Drake especially, he had an asthma attack, so we had to stay back the first night rather than moving forward, which caused issues with our timing. We didn't realize that we couldn't climb on the 6th day, so we wasted that and didn't make it to the top, but if we would have had the 6th day, we probably could have summited. Also, the goals that we had as individuals contradicted the goals of the group. For example, my goal was to get everyone to summit, but Maddie's was to stay 2 nights at Camp 1 and Camp 2. Without prioritizing these, we went into it with poor planning and stayed at the first camp 2 nights and realized we lost time.
Yeah, so what was beneficial was it was cool that we could see what the weather was going to be like and what the temperature was, so then I was able to give us some predictability on the outcomes of frostbite and yeah. So, and then there's also summaries that we were able to look at, and that was there to able to tell us kind of like what was going on with me. It was kind of saying if I have this disease or if I have asthma, and I was like, oh, I definitely have asthma because it said that I have elevation sickness. So Mac was able to give me an inhaler, and that helped out a lot, and I went from critical to strong, but it didn't last very long. What was frustrating was not being able to tell what exactly the health issues were. Like, it just was not very specific, so it was just hard for Mac to really give us what we needed and to know what exactly we needed to succeed in this venture.
Yeah, what also was frustrating was we didn't really go over our goals before we started the simulation. We kind of just went for it, and that ended up showing because we ended up out summiting and we ran into a bunch of different problems that we kind of had to tackle, like as they came up, when we probably could have prevented them by going over our stuff a little more. So yeah.
Definitely one thing we would have changed had we done this over again would have been we would have sat down and prioritized all our goals from the beginning, like all our individual goals, and made set group goals rather than just going off of our individual goals.
So now this part of the video, we're going to talk about the course concepts and how it applied not only to the simulation, but applied to setting up the group meetings and how we all overall interacted with each other throughout this process. So the first part we're going to talk about is emotional intelligence. So now of the 5 key components, 3 most prominent that came up were self-awareness, self-regulation, and empathy. So before each meeting, we had to come in, we had to be self-aware of our own emotions and not kind of bring that in and ruin the group mood. And in order to do that, we had to self-regulate it and control it so it wouldn't take over the mood. And then lastly, we needed to be empathetic. And we used that in the simulation as well because we had to look at people's health and people's goals and, make decisions based upon that information. And we just used this information to help. We used emotional intelligence to help have better overall objectives in the simulation as well as a team.
So during our meetings before and after we did the simulation, we definitely demonstrated the social construction model of communication. We know that everyone has different lives and schedules and stuff that they have to do, so we definitely kept that in mind when we were scheduling when to meet next and what we needed to do for the next meeting. So everyone has different goals and stuff that they wanted to get out of this class and out of this project, so we definitely made sure that we were all on the same page and we accounted for everyone else's differences, that we knew what we needed to accomplish by the next meeting and what we needed to do during the meeting. So after those meetings, we demonstrated the transmission model of communication, which is more linear than the social construction, and that we just assumed that everyone else would get the same message we were conveying when we would text the group that this is the time we're meeting, this is what we need to do before the meeting, like, this is where we're meeting. So the transmission model is different from the social construct model in that we don't account for other people's social world. So I think that worked out better through our texting of just reminders.
Definitely going off of that, we definitely had to compromise both during planning meetings and times where we were going to meet, as well as during the simulation itself, such as deciding which goals were more important than others, such as deciding whether we were going to summit or accomplish our personal goals. Even though we didn't summit, we did try, and that was our main goal, was to summit, but we did have some issues such as health conditions and other issues like that caused it so that we couldn't summit, and we had to stay extra days at camps. And so it was definitely a compromise both during the simulation itself and during the planning of our meetings and everything else, that we had to work as a team to decide what we wanted to do.
We also focused on trying to overcome the pyramid that has the 5 dysfunctions of a team. We managed to do so on almost every level. We were all committed and accounted for getting together and completing our mission, and we knew when and where we had to be. One issue that came up was I wasn't able to make it to the first initial meeting that we had, but I quickly texted everyone and told them that I wasn't going to be there, and they filled me in with what I missed. We struggled with the inattention to our results, like Maddie was saying as well, because we did prioritize our goals before starting the simulation. Once we ended, we soon realized that we would have benefited a lot if we would have planned a little bit better in the beginning.
Yeah, and then so we ran into some problems coordinating with the video. We wanted to do it on top of the OMC because it had a cool view and it was a nice day out, but it was too windy, so we kind of had to scavenge around and look for a room and a comfortable setting to do the video. But our search kind of came up empty, and then it wasn't until our group leader Shannon stepped up and offered her apartment, so that's why we're here right now. So that kind of just showed us how we ran into a conflict and thought on our feet as a team and resolved it, still keeping our team goals in mind and our individual goals in order to get this whole project done. So,
Yeah, another thing that was a little issue was I was trying to plan ahead and get a nice camera and rent it out on campus and try to make this really cool. This still is pretty cool, but the nice camera ended up not working, and the microphone, and it just didn't turn out very well. But now we're here, we're making it work, and we're together as a team to figure it out.
Maybe one thing that I definitely got from this overall process of the simulation and group meetings was how complex you can make it to analyze group interactions and how to really form a good group and accomplish your goals on time and to the standards that you set for yourself. So.
Yeah, another thing I got from this whole process was it seems like no matter what, you're going to run into conflicts in whatever you do, and it's just important that you have a strong team and always take everyone's input and just work together on it as a team to come up with that conflict.
Yeah, and something I picked up too was, we all come from different majors and stuff like that, but we had to apply some of the stuff in communication and look at it from a different angle, which was an interesting perspective that you don't see in some of the other classes you take.
I definitely agree with that. It's something where you have to work together much more as a team than you would even in other group projects because it's based on being a group. And so we definitely had to think about that a lot more than we did like in other group projects where we couldn't really work by ourselves. We had to work as a team.
Another thing that was cool was everyone had their strengths and weaknesses. Mac, being a senior, he's got a lot of experience just, with the business school and everything. And then John, he's kind of like the mediator and just is really cool. Just makes sure everyone's on the same level. And then we got Shannon, who's great at being a team leader as she was for the role, which is cool. And she really stepped up and played her title. And then we got McKenna, and she's very organized and made sure everyone was up to date and knew where everyone should go. And then I had Maddie, and she was great too. She's struggling with some sickness, but she overcame it, and she did her benefits for the team, and it was awesome. So it was cool to work with everyone and have everyone's strengths. So
I think we're thankful for
Cheers,
Drake for
bitches.
trying to,
Yeah.
you know,
yeah,
like overstep the boundaries and make it cooler. Even though it didn't work out, it was a really cool
Yeah.
effort.
Yeah, they count.
Definitely
Stuff
appreciate
that
it.
thought that counts. Yeah.
There.
Yeah.
Right.
Cheers, bitches.
That went great.